All right, let's talk about planning for retirement in Canada. Sometimes it can feel like you're trying to build something really important, but you've lost the instructions. Well, today we're going to build your personal retirement toolkit piece by piece so you can confidently build the future you really want. And yeah, if you're looking at this slide and your head is spinning, you are definitely not alone. Our PP, our RSP, RIF, it's like a whole other language, right? But here's the thing. Getting your head around these acronyms is the very first step to taking control. And I promise we're going to make it simple. So here's our plan for today. We're going to start with the tools you get from your job. Then we'll talk about the big power tool in your kit, the RRSP. We'll even look at some cool ways you can unlock it early. After that, we'll get into what happens when you actually cash in for retirement, and then we'll wrap it all up with the key things you need to remember. You know, every good toolkit needs a solid foundation. And for a lot of Canadians, that foundation gets built right at work. It's usually called a registered pension plan, or an RPP. So let's dig into this first super important tool. Okay, so there are basically two main kinds of workplace pensions, and the real difference comes down to who holds the risk. On one side, you've got the defined benefit, or DB plan. Think of this as a promise. Your employer promises you a set guaranteed income for life. They take on all the investment risk. On the other side is the defined contribution, or DC plan. Here, the promise is just about how much goes in. You and your employer both contribute, but the final amount, that's all on you and how well your investments do. The risk lands squarely on your shoulders. And you need to know this. The whole game is shifting. More and more companies are moving to defined contribution plans. And why? Well, it's pretty simple. It moves the financial risk off of their books and onto you, the employee. So what that really means is that it's more important than ever for you to be paying attention and get involved with your own savings. So how does a defined benefit plan even work? It's all just a formula. Let's take a look at Babul. His plan is based on his average salary over his whole career. You just multiply that by a percentage that the plan sets times the years he worked, and bam, he gets a predictable, guaranteed pension every year. Now look at Oliver. His plan works a little differently. It uses his 5 best earning years. The main thing to get here is that with a DB plan, the result is predictable. It's a promise, written out in math. Okay, so we've got the foundation from work sorted. Now let's add the real power tool to your kit, the Registered Retirement Savings Plan, the RRSP. This is the one where you are completely in the driver's seat. Now, this is maybe the single most misunderstood thing about RSSPs, so let's be super clear. An RSSP is not an investment. You don't buy an RSSP. Think of it more like a special kind of basket. You put your investments, stocks, bonds, funds, inside this basket. And the magic of this basket is that it creates a shield around your investments, protecting them from taxes while they grow. So how much can you actually put into this magic basket? Well, every year you get new contribution room. The basic math is 18% of the income you earned last year up to a maximum that the government sets. And the best part? Any room you don't use just carries forward. You never lose it. And that brings us to the first superpower of the RRSP. Tax-deferred growth. See, in a normal investment account, you have to pay taxes on your gains every single year. It's like having a slow leak in a tire. But inside an RSSP, your money just grows and grows, completely left alone by the taxman until you finally take it out in retirement. And just look at the difference that superpower makes in the real world. Priscilla and Miguel, they invest the exact same amount for 30 years. But because Priscilla's money was in that tax-sheltered RRSP, her gains weren't being chipped away by taxes every year. All that money could just keep compounding on itself. The result? She ends up with over $500,000 more for retirement. That's the absolutely incredible power of compounding when you take taxes out of the equation. So how do these two big tools, your pension at work and your personal RSP, fit together? Well, the government tries to keep things fair. So the value of the pension you earned at work gets calculated and shows up on your T4 tax slip as something called a pension adjustment, or PA. Just think of it like this. The more your employer puts into your pension, the less room you get for your personal RSP the next year. It's just a big balancing act. Now, a lot of people think their RRSP is totally locked away until they're 65. But that's not quite true. The government actually created a couple of special keys that lets you unlock that money early for 2 very big life events. First up is the home buyer's plan. This lets you borrow from your own savings up to $35,000, totally tax-free, to use for a down payment on your very first home. It's a huge leg up.
But, and this is crucial, it's a loan to yourself. You have to pay it all back into your RSP over the next 15 years.
The second key is the lifelong learning plan. This one lets you borrow up to $20,000 to go back to school full-time or for your spouse to. It's an amazing way to invest in yourself. And just like the homebuyer's plan, it's a loan you have to repay to your RRSP, but this time you've got 10 years to do it. Okay, so you spent your entire career using this toolkit, building up a nice pile of savings. Now we get to the final chapter, turning that nest egg into an actual income that you can live on. And there is a hard deadline here. By the end of the year that you turn 71, your RRSP has to be shut down. That forces a huge question. What do you do with all the money inside? This leads you to two main choices. Your two main options are an annuity or RRIF, and it really comes down to a classic trade-off, security versus control. With an annuity, you give your lump sum to an insurance company, and in exchange, they give you a guaranteed paycheck for the rest of your life. You can't outlive it. It's total certainty. With an RRIF, on the other hand, you keep control. Your money stays invested, and you just draw an income from it. You get flexibility and the chance for more growth, but you're also still carrying the investment risk. Honestly, here's the absolute simplest way to think about it. A RIF is just the mirror image of an RRSP. You use an RRSP your whole life to put money in, then you use a RIF in retirement to take money out. That's it. It holds the same investments, you just have to start withdrawing a certain amount each year. So, we have covered a ton of ground. Let's pull this all together and look at the final blueprint for your retirement toolkit. So what are the most important things to walk away with? First, leverage your employer. Max out whatever pension plan you have at work. That's your foundation. Second, power up your savings with your personal RRSP. Take advantage of that incredible tax-sheltered growth. And finally, plan your payout. Really think about that choice between the certainty of an annuity and the flexibility of a RIF. We've laid out all the tools on your retirement workbench. You've got the foundational pieces, you've got your power tools, each one has a job to do, and now you know how to use them. So the only question left is, which tools are you going to pick up to start building your future?